Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, epidemiologist, biostatistician, and core faculty member. And in this video, I'm about to talk about mental health stigma, society, individuals, and the profession. And this is published by Brian Amandani. I wanted to go over this because mental health stigma is at the center of the types of stigmas that individuals experience. Now, another area that is important to acknowledge with stigma is cancer. That's another place. And then infant mortality in African Americans are a lot higher than infant mortality among Caucasians. So all of these different races and ethnicities need to be explored a little bit better. And so contextualizing this, 2001, the WHO reported that an estimated 25%, a quarter of the worldwide population, is affected by some mental and behavioral health. So if you are going through a mental or physical health or behavioral health issue, then this proves that you're not alone. A quarter of the global population has it. Within the United States, mental and behavioral health conditions affect approximately 57 million adults. So 57, and now we have about 350 million. So just doing quick math, that's about quite a few percent. So anyway, if 57 million, you can do the math. 340 million then is about a quarter of the of what they're going through. So 350, and we can do 60. So you can calculate that. Despite the high prevalence of these conditions, though, recognized treatments have shown effectiveness in mitigating the problem and improving individual functioning in society. So there's not really that much effort. That more needs to be done. So there is a gap. There are now several potential reasons for why. Given a high prevalence of mental health and drug use conditions, there is so much less participation in treatment. And explanations for this may be that those with mental health or drug use conditions are disabled enough by their condition that they are not able to seek treatment. That's one. Number two, they are not able to identify their own condition and therefore do not seek needed services. Despite these viable options, there's another particular explanation that is evident throughout the literature. The U.S. Surgeon General and the WHO cite stigma as a key barrier to successful treatment engagement, including seeking and sustaining participation in services. So what this means is that individuals that don't seek treatment, there's multiple reasons. It's not just stigma. Stigma is a major role, but it's also that they can't really identify themselves as having mental health issues because either they've had it so long or it's a new development which only some other people around them can understand. And the other one was they're just disabled from the mental illness that they can't even take their meds. So there's micro and macro focused practice. So some of the initial, who's considered one of the fathers of sociology, Irving Goffman. He, in his seminal work Stigma, notes on the management of spoiled identity. So Goffman states that stigma is an attribute that is deeply discrediting, that reduces someone from a whole and usual person to a tainted, discounted one. The stigmatized thus are perceived as having a spoiled identity. So in the social work literature, Dudley, working from Goffman's initial conceptualization, defined stigma as stereotypes or negative views attributed to a person or groups of people when their characteristics or behaviors are different, or viewed to be different, and inferior to societal norms. Due to its use in social work literature, Dudley's definition provides an excellent stance from which to develop an understanding of stigma. Wanted to write or help you potentially understand these 6 dimensions of stigma. So the first dimension of stigma is peril. So peril, otherwise known as dangerousness, peril is so often considered an important aspect of stigma development, and cited in the literature. In this instance, the general public perceives those with mental disorders as frightening, unpredictable, and strange. Corrigan also suggests that fear and discomfort arise as a result of the social cues attributed to individuals. So social cues can be evidenced by psychiatric symptoms, awkward physical appearance, or social skills, and through labels. In one of my previous videos, I put labels in there. But this particular issue highlights the dimension of aesthetics or displeasing nature of mental disorders. So peril or dangerousness is the first one. Number 2 is stigma is origin. So as in the and I'm gonna, just like the other one, I'm gonna highlight this. As in the definition provided earlier, mental and behavioral disorders are often believed to, at least in part, develop from biological and genetic factors. So the origin is a big part of it. This has direct implications for the dementia of controllability. So the next one is concealability. So that's the third. Visibility of the illness is a dimension of stigma that parallels controllability, but also provides other insight into the stigmatization of mental and behavioral disorders. Then there's the final 3 dimensions. So we went over so far origin, peril, dangerousness. So let's start this again. Peril, origin, controllability, of course, and then, for instance, so a recent report by Feldman and Crandall, 2007, found that individuals with disorders such as pedophilia and cocaine dependence were much more stigmatized than those with disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder. So certain conditions have more sympathy than others. This supports the controllability hypothesis, in which pedophilia and cocaine dependence could be viewed as more controllable in society than a disorder believed to be caused by a PTSD. So it's all relative in terms of the individual's identity. It also supports the pity dimension. So they're all interchangeable, interactive sort of 6 dimensions of stigma. So in this case, individuals within a culture or society may have more sympathy for disorders that are perceived as less controllable. So again, if we talk about peril, origin, and then controllability, then it's some are more controllable, and regardless of what is controllable, for some reason PTSD is much more sympathetic. And then concealability, that's part of controllability. But the visibility of the illness is a dimension of stigma and parallels. So Crocker suggests that stigmatized attributes such as race can be easily identified and are concealable, allowing society to differentiate and stigmatize based on the visibility of the person. So concealability, if you can see it, then it's more of a stigma. If it's concealed, then it's not necessarily a stigma. So let's take a look at the final three dimensions. Now that we reviewed the first three, now we can talk about course, stability, and disruptiveness. So course and stability question how likely the person with the disability is to recover and or benefit from treatment. Further, the disruptiveness dimension assesses how such a mental or behavioral disorder may impact relationships or success in society. So typically disruptiveness is seen as negative, but in this situation that's part of stigma, and it assesses how such a mental or behavioral disorder may impact relationships. So the relational potential of this is a question. So while disorders are frequently associated with an increased rise of poverty, lower socioeconomic status, and lower levels of education. So the stability and disruptiveness of the condition have implications as to whether an individual will be able to hold down a successful job and engage in healthy relationships, as evidenced by differences in stigma based on social status, social class status. So again, this is a good theory paper, levels of stigma theory and epistemology. So it's how you're grasping reality. So illustrating the constructs underlying the formation of stigma helps us understand three specific levels of stigma. So it could be self-stigma. You think of yourself as having stigma. Social stigma, how others respond to you, and professional stigma, where in professional life stigma is extending to. So in the context, levels does not refer to a hierarchy of importance for these varied stigmas, but rather to represent different social fields of stigma that can be differentiated from each other. So there's three levels of stigma. First, stigmatized attitudes. Second, social stigma. Stigmatized attitudes moves towards individuals with mental health and drug use disorders are often in the form of social stigma. Then this goes into social stigma. I don't want to belabor the point too much. Phelan and Link has some individual Link and Phelan right here. Furthermore, Link and Phelan clearly illustrated the view of sociology towards stigma in their article titled Conceptualizing Stigma. So Link and Phelan I've actually used in publications with my colleagues, and so that provides a jumping board from which you can look at this. So implications specifically for social work. This is actually a good article to go over. It's a long article, but about 9 pages, not too long. It's good to look at some of the resources and everything, and the theoretical components of this. So I hope I've given you a good overview of stigma, and even though this is a bit dated, about 11 years, this goes into a lot of good theoretical portions of this. Thank you for listening.